So it's been a while since I've done one of these. We're talking history. So Alex Navalny, okay, if you haven't followed the recent news, he has died suspiciously in prison, okay? And here's just some other roundabout stories of people dying in mysterious ways, and then we'll get more in depth. So you have Sergei Yeshenkov, shot in front of his house. You have Pavel Antov, fell out of a window at his 64th floor in India. Just You have Yevgeny Prigozhin, whose plane gets fucking shot down inexplicably. You have Dan Rappaport, found dead in front of his apartment. You have Boris Nemetsov, shot in the back 4 times. We never found out who did it. And then, of course, there's Alexander Litvinenko, okay? So, this guy goes out for his, afternoon tea. And somehow drinks polonium-210. It's highly radioactive, and he dies. Like, I think 48 hours later or something crazy like that. So Russia is a country well-renowned with having its shit on lockdown. So here we have Ivan the Terrible. This is just one of the earliest, or one of the earlier examples. Would you want to fuck around with a guy who looks like this? Would you? No, of course not. So this guy is, I think he had some kind of psychosis, bipolar, or schizophrenia. And his doctors, you want to know the medicine they give him? Liquid fucking mercury, which doesn't cure the problem, it just makes it worse. So he's madder than hell. And this is where we go to Russia's earliest state police with the Oprichnia. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that, but Oprichnia. These guys have black cloaks, and basically, if you were an enemy of the state, if Ivan the Terrible didn't like the way how you looked, or maybe you said something off color, he'd just go. And of course, Oprichnia would be finding you, torturing you to death, and God knows what else. If you were lucky, you died quick. So Russia has this history. It's well known. The NKVD, KGB, and just this state apparatchik just monstrosity that you would have to be suicidal to go against Putin and the Russian state. So with Alexei Navalny, okay, it's terrible. Political opponents are killed, but those examples that I gave you, why in God's name would you try? I think there was the 2 of the previous opponents. Someone can correct me on this. One was stabbed to death on the bridge to the Kremlin, or a bridge somewhere over the Volga. The other one was shot in his apartment. So with this history, I'm basically doing this video because the West is caught up in the idea that you think that you can get an opposition leader to do some color revolution bullshit or some coup d'etat against Putin and the Russian state. You would have to be absolutely fucking mad. Like I said, suicidal. And that says a lot about the opposition people in Russia. That takes the biggest of steel balls to crap on the porch of Vladimir Putin. It's an absolute death sentence. But the West here is like belly aching over it, and I get it, but we have to apply some common sense here. At what point is the West going to realize maybe we should stop expending people's lives to overturn and hack an unhackable country? And this isn't just due to Russian patriotism. And there's a good number of Russians that like Vladimir Putin. He's got like 70% to 78% approval rating. And regardless, even if that is some RT television propaganda bullshit, it still lays the question out there that he still has a strong support base from the military and even the basic Russian people. So, with that said, it's just not gonna it's not gonna work. There's not gonna be a Russian civil war between ultra-nationalists and pro-democratic forces. It's just not gonna happen in our lifetimes, ever. It's and even when you look at Rasputin, right, who who was eating like cyanide-laced sweets. And the people around him is like, damn, this guy's putting away the cyanide-laced cakes. Like, so they shoot him. Still alive. Stab him. And then here's the amazing thing about the story. They throw his ass in the frozen Volga. Still alive. What kills Rasputin? Hypothermia. Not the cyanide, not the guns, not the bullets, not the stabbing. Hypothermia killed him because allegedly he broke out of his binds somehow in the water and he washed ashore. So again, this goes back to that adage where I say Slavs and Russians, when God made them, he carved them out of the mountainside. These are people made of stone. And even with opposition people, it takes a lot of courage to stand up. So with Alexei Navalny, okay, like impeccable, the biggest steel balls anyone could ever, because again, it's absolute suicide. But again, the West thinks they can interfere with Mother Russia that's been on lockdown. Let's rewind. Ivan the Terrible. No, look at this guy. And with such history, the Oprichnaya. But yet somehow, for some reason, someone in the West thinks they can create a color revolution or coup d'etat in Russia. The mad, dumb bastards. So that's just a little bit of history about Russia. And with Russia, you have to mind your P's and Q's, because you will suspiciously die. So I'm going to compare this with also Ukraine. Same thing with Zelensky. Zelensky has suspended elections. Now, I've already seen people from the West and commentators here on this YouTube platform justify his seizure of power. And not only that, justify his aggression against Russian Orthodox Christians, against Russian or Ukrainian and Russian journalists. But the West seems to have this blindfold where Zelensky can do no wrong, and the Zelensky regime and government can torture, kill, and violently murder journalists and opposing people. That's fine. So we're in this weird world where the West can support a fascist Nazi regime like Zelensky who kills, tortures journalists, but when Putin does it, somehow it's all bad because he's apparently the bad guy. I'm not coming here being a Russian apologist because someone's going to skim through here or say like, oh, you're Putin propagandist, Russian Putin propaganda. No, I just see the lens without any bullshit. So with Avdiivka, a little adding bonus topic to this video, Avdiivka has fallen, Robotyne is fallen, and you could pretty much say Zelensky's regime in Ukraine, the days are probably numbered, ladies and gentlemen. I don't see Ukraine pulling this one off. And you have the Secretary of State saying, oh, we needed to pass this bill to give more artillery shells to Ukraine. And with all this absurdity, the West thinks that they can just keep sending tanks, guns, and artillery pieces. But in reality, you need people. Ukraine is running out of people. There's mass graves, okay? So to wrap up this whole video, you cannot just enforce your will. Russia will not be broken by a propaganda war. Russia, in my humble opinion, never will be broken. Never. There will be no outside source that will ever seize Moscow, period. It's the same thing why no foreign invader will ever conquer the United States. The only way the United States and Russia ever fall will be due to their own hubris via civil war or other means or through economics. That's the only way these countries fall, and that goes for Russia. That's the only way Russia will ever, the egg of Russia will be cracked. But until then, our politicians and people in the West are going to keep throwing weapons, material, and tanks at a race of people who, again, are chiseled from the fucking mountain. And whose will is unshatterable. But yeah, in closing, Just a little bit of history, a little bit of things about Russia. And again, to wrap this up, I am not a Russian, like 100% like a Russian like sympathizer. I'm just saying from my own opinion and lens that it's not gonna happen. Ukraine is not going to crack that Russian egg. United States is not going to crack that egg of Russia through some shitty proxy war by a bunch of plutocrats and oligarchs. Not going to happen. And anyone who does say that Ukraine can beat Russia, that Ukraine can crush Russia, is huffing that copium. Huffing that copium good. And they're fools. Anyways, see you next time. God bless. Stay happy, stay healthy. And until next time, have a good one.